Hello everyone. In the previous session, we have discussed about determination of equivalent conductivity, molar conductivity, and its chemical form, and even we considered a variation of molar conductivity with the dilutions. Okay, so when we dealing with the variation of molar conductivity with the dilutions, we considered a solution of a strong electrolyte as well as solution of a weak electrolyte, in which what happened, we come across an equation named Debye-Huckel-Onsager equation. So according to that, if we plot a graph of molar conductance versus concentration, that is square of the concentration, we get a straight line. By extrapolating the straight line, so we are going to get a limiting molar conductivity of a strong electrolyte. On the other hand, if you plot a graph of molar conductance versus square of the concentration for weak electrolyte, in case of weak electrolyte, we came to know that by extrapolating the curve, it is not possible to get the limiting molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte. So, the limiting molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte can be determined by a well-known law called, or with the help of a well-known law called Coleridge's law. Well, today in this session, we are dealing with the Coleridge's law and how we are going to determine the molecular equivalent conductivity, or I can say molecular conductivity of those weak electrolyte and its application parts. Okay, coming to the Coleridge's law. So Coleridge's law, or it is also even named as a Coleridge's law of independent migration of ions. First, we look for the statement of the law. So, what is the statement? Here, the limiting molar conductivity, as we already mentioned in the previous session, limiting molar conductivity means the molar conductivity of an electrolyte when concentration approaches to zero, or I can say at infinite dilution, is called limiting molar conductivity. So here, what that law says, the limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte is equal to sum of the ionic conductivity of cations and anions present in it. So according to law, what it says, if I want to calculate, or I can say if I want to measure the limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte, what we have to do? We have to add ionic conductivity. We have to add the ionic conductivity of all the cations and anions present in it. So generally, if I want to say limiting molar conductivity lambda naught m is equal to sum of limiting molar conductivity of cation and limiting molar conductivity of anion, or else we can say lambda naught m is equal to lambda naught plus lambda naught minus. Here lambda naught plus indicates limiting molar conductivity of cations, while lambda naught minus indicates limiting molar conductivity of a anions. Further, if you think of when an 1 mole of electrolyte undergo dissociation, it is not necessary that they are going to produce only 1 mole of cation and 1 mole of anion. So to update the mathematical form of Coleridge's law, he introduced number of cations and a number of anions in the form of V plus and V minus. So here V plus indicates the total number of cations and V minus indicates number of anions. So the updated form will be lambda naught m is equal to V plus into lambda naught plus V minus into lambda naught minus. Here the signs indicates cation and anion. This positive sign is nothing but indicates the cation, negative sign indicates the anion. So for example, if I want to determine the lambda naught of NaCl, so as per the definition, sodium chloride splits into Na plus and Cl minus. Therefore, lambda naught of NaCl is equal to lambda naught of Na plus lambda naught of Cl minus. There is only one cation Na plus and there is only one anion. Therefore, it's understood 1 into lambda naught of Na plus 1 into lambda naught of Cl minus. Similarly, if you look for some other examples here, say lambda naught of HCl is equal to lambda naught of H plus lambda naught of Cl minus. As like if you go for aluminum sulfate, limiting molar conductivity of a aluminum sulfate here, if you look at the formula Al2SO4 taken twice, it means 1 mole of aluminum sulfate contains 2 aluminum ions and 3 sulfate ions. So according to Coleridge's law, number of cations into its limiting molar conductivity plus number of anions into its limiting molar conductivity. So according to 2 aluminum ions, so 2 into lambda naught of Al3 plus 3 into lambda naught of SO4 2 minus. So these are the few examples which is written in accordance with the Coleridge's law. Okay, then coming to the observations made by Coleridge's. So Coleridge, he made certain observations while dealing with the calculation of lambda naught of different electrolytes. Well, what is one observation he made? He found that the difference in the lambda naught of different pair of electrolytes. He took a pair of electrolytes, means two electrolytes. What is the further consideration? Having either common cation or common anion. So Coleridge, he observed what is that observation? The difference in the lambda naught of different pair of electrolytes. Different pair of electrolytes having either common cation or common anion is almost same. So he took some illustrations. Well, we can understand this meaning of this statement with the help of illustrations. Well, the first illustration, what it says, the difference between lambda naught of K plus and lambda naught of Na plus is always found to be 23.4 Simon centimeter square per mole. So it can be analyzed by considering pair of electrolytes, three pair of electrolytes. Well, in the first pair, what are the electrolyte? KCl and NaCl. In the second pair, KBr, NaBr, and the third pair, KNO3, NaNO3. So we considered three different pair of electrolytes having what is common here? Common anions. Or else in another way, I can say having common set of cations. Having a common set of cations. Say K plus Na plus, K plus Na plus, K plus Na plus. We consider different pair of electrolytes having common set of cations. When you look at the difference among the lambda naught of those set of electrolytes is always found to be 23.4 Simon centimeter square per mole. So, well, say for example, the first one, KCl. According to Coleridge's law, what is the lambda naught of KCl? Lambda naught of K plus lambda naught of Cl minus. Okay. What about lambda naught of NaCl? Lambda naught of Na plus lambda naught of Cl minus. So if you simplify this further, we are going to end up with the lambda naught of K plus minus lambda naught of Na plus. Similarly, in all these three examples, we are going to observe only the difference between lambda naught of K plus minus lambda naught of Na plus. Therefore, he considered the difference in the lambda naught of different pair of electrolytes having common cation or anion was almost same. So if you want to look at the difference between lambda naught of K plus and Na plus is always 23.4 Simon centimeter square per mole. Similarly, if you go for second illustration, here the difference between lambda naught of Cl minus and lambda naught of NO3 minus is always found to be 4.9 Simon centimeter square per mole. Well, it is observed by considering again different set of electrolytes. Well, the first set KCl KNO3, second set NaCl NaNO3, and third lithium chloride and lithium nitrate. Again, we considered three set of electrolytes. Here again, what is that? Having common set of anions. Different cation but having common set of anions. Again, what is the difference? Is all three cases we observed 4.9 Simon centimeter square per mole. Well, by analyzing these two illustrations, what is the conclusion drawn? So at infinite dilution, when dissociation is complete, we already mentioned at infinite dilution, even weak electrolyte also act as a strong electrolyte. It means all electrolytes undergo complete dissociation at a infinite dilution. So what happens? We are saying at infinite dilution, when the dissociation is complete, each ion makes a definite contribution towards the molar conductivity irrespective of the nature of other ion with which it is associated. Okay, say for example here Cl minus and NO3 minus ions associated with the potassium ion. In second, Cl minus and NO3 minus ions are associated with sodium ion. In third set, Cl minus and NO3 minus ions are associated with the lithium ion. So, potassium ion, sodium ion and lithium ion, they are different. Their properties are different. But irrespective of nature of the other ion, Cl minus and NO3 minus, they are going to give definite contribution towards molar conductivity, fixed contribution towards molar conductivity. So we say, I repeat the conclusion, what it says, at infinite dilution, when dissociation is complete, each ion makes a definite contribution towards molar conductivity of the electrolyte irrespective of the nature of the other ion with which it is associated is one of the important observations made by Coleridge's. Okay, well then coming to the applications of Coleridge's law. Well, here application means basically one we can say what is that, to overcome the difficulties associated with the Debye-Huckel-Onsager equation or expression, or I can say graphical method. So with the help of that graphical method, it is not possible to calculate the lambda naught of weak electrolytes. But with the help of Coleridge's law, one can calculate the limiting molar conductivity of all weak electrolytes. So it becomes the application of a Coleridge's law. So what is the first application? For calculation of molar conductance at infinite dilution. What it means? Lambda naught. For the calculation of lambda naught of a weak electrolytes. Well, how we are going to calculate the molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte means by knowing the some basic reactions, some simple reactions. It should include strong electrolytes. Okay, along with the electrolyte whose limiting molar conductivity to be calculated. Well, one of the reaction, say for example, if you want to determine the limiting molar conductivity of a acetic acid. Acetic acid is a weak electrolyte. If you wish to calculate lambda naught of acetic acid, how it can be calculated means, as I said, acetic acid, hydrochloric acid, sodium chloride and sodium acetate. These are the four components. Acetic acid is a weak electrolyte, but other three, HCl, NaCl and sodium acetate are the stronger electrolytes. Well, here, when acetic acid is treated with the sodium chloride, when acetic acid treated with sodium chloride, what are the product expected? There will be sodium acetate and hydrochloric acid. So we have this expression. Acetic acid when reacts with the sodium chloride gives sodium acetate and hydrochloric acid, or else even we can say sodium acetate when reacts with sodium chloride, sorry, hydrochloric acid gives acetic acid and NaCl. With the help of knowledge of that kind of reactions, so well, before going for that expression, acetic acid, according to Coleridge's law, lambda naught of CH3COOH, acetic acid is equal to lambda naught of acetate ion plus lambda naught of H plus ion. So make it as equation 1. Similarly, lambda naught of sodium acetate is equal to lambda naught of acetate ion plus lambda naught of Na plus ion. I made it as equation 2. Lambda naught of HCl is equal to lambda naught of H plus lambda naught of Cl minus, third equation. And fourth, lambda naught of NaCl is equal to lambda naught of Na plus lambda naught of Cl minus. So we have made 4 equations. These 4 equations are written in accordance with the Coleridge's law. Well, as I mentioned the reaction, according to that, equation 1 can be obtained. Equation 1. This equation 1 can be obtained by making this. So equation 2 plus equation 3 minus equation 4. Well, what is the equation 2? Sodium acetate, that is lambda naught of CH3CO minus plus lambda naught of Na plus lambda naught of HCl. Lambda naught of HCl means lambda naught of H plus lambda naught of Cl minus. So now we got 4 quantities here by doing this. Lambda naught of CH3CO minus plus lambda naught of Na plus lambda naught of H plus lambda naught of Cl minus. What is the next term? Minus lambda naught of NaCl. Minus lambda naught of NaCl means minus Na minus lambda naught of Na minus lambda naught of Cl minus. So which quantity cancels here? Say lambda naught of Na lambda naught of Na cancels. Lambda naught Cl minus lambda naught of Cl minus cancels. What is the remaining? Lambda naught of acetate plus lambda naught of H plus remains is nothing but lambda naught of acetic acid. So we can say by knowing the lambda naught of limiting molar conductivity of some set of strong electrolytes, it is possible to calculate the lambda naught of a weak electrolyte. Okay, so it is regarding first applications of a Coleridge's law. Coming to the second one, that is calculation of degree of dissociation of a weak electrolyte. So how degree of dissociation is abbreviated with the symbol alpha. So well, how it is obtained with the help of lambda naught means by having a ratio, the ratio of molar conductivity of an electrolyte. Okay, how we are getting alpha means by taking a ratio between molar conductivity of an electrolyte to its limiting molar conductivity. So for example, if I want to calculate limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte, well, with the help of first application as we considered, by knowing the lambda naught of certain set of strong electrolytes, we will get lambda naught of a weak electrolyte. Now, if you calculate molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte or less strong electrolyte, and even if you know the lambda naught limiting molar conductivity of that electrolyte, by taking ratio of both, the ratio of molar conductivity of an electrolyte at certain concentration to its limiting molar conductivity gives the degree of dissociation of that electrolyte, that is alpha. Well, mathematically, how we can abbreviate it? Alpha is equal to lambda Cm divided by lambda naught m. It means the ratio of molar conductivity of an electrolyte at certain concentration to its limiting molar conductivity gives the degree of dissociation. So it's the second application. By knowing the lambda Cm and lambda naught m, one can calculate the alpha degree of dissociation. This is the second application of a Kohlrausch's law. Then coming to the third one, what is the third application? The calculation of dissociation constant of a weak electrolyte, that is Ka. I hope you are aware about dissociation constant of a acids, bases. Okay, so the dissociation constant of a weak electrolyte can also be calculated with the help of Kohlrausch's law. It means by using molar conductivity and limiting molar conductivity of the electrolyte, one can calculate the dissociation constant. Well, what is the mathematical form? That is Ka is equal to C into alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha. Which formula to be remembered? This. Ka is equal to C into alpha square, or else in some cases we used to say alpha square into C. Nothing differs, both mean same. So C into alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha. Well, what is C here? C is the molar concentration. Okay, C is the molar concentration of that electrolyte. What is alpha? We already mentioned it is the degree of dissociation of a electrolyte. Okay, so K is equal to C into alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha. Well, we know already what is alpha? The ratio of lambda Cm divided by lambda naught m. So wherever alpha is there, we place the its another form lambda Cm divided by lambda naught m, so that on simplification we get another form for dissociation constant. What is that? Ka is equal to C into lambda Cm square divided by lambda naught m bracket of lambda naught m minus lambda Cm, which means by knowing the concentration, by knowing the molar conductivity of electrolyte at C concentration and its limiting molar conductivity, one can calculate the dissociation constant of a electrolyte. So overall, these are the three applications of a Kohlrausch's law. What is the first application? Calculation of limiting molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte. Second application, calculation of degree of dissociation of a electrolyte. And the third application, calculation of dissociation constant of a electrolyte. Well, it is regarding Kohlrausch's law, its statement, and some observations made by Kohlrausch's law and its application part. Well, I hope you understood this. Again, in the next session, we talk about some other concept of a formula to be remembered. This K is